Today we're going to be talking about calculating simple interest. This is Unit 9, Lesson 14 in your OLS, and it is on page 292 of your K12 pre-algebra textbook. So when you borrow money from a bank, most oftentimes, you would pay interest all the time from a bank, usually a personal loan from your parents or a sibling. They usually don't charge interest. However, if you are going to purchase a home or a car or something where you would need a large amount of money and you go to the bank and request a loan, you would call that the principal. So that is the amount of money that you wish to borrow. On the flip side, the principal could also be the amount of money that you would deposit into an interest-bearing account, like a savings account or some other account where you could earn money for putting money into the bank. The interest then is kind of the fee that you would pay in addition to the money that you borrow. If you borrow $1,000 to purchase a new lawnmower, by the end of the loan, you maybe would have paid back $1,200 after all your payments are added up. So the interest would be the extra money. Or if you put money in your savings account, every month the bank automatically deposits a small amount of extra money into your account. The interest rate varies all the time. That is a percent, and you of course try to get a low percent when you borrow money, but you wish to have a high percent when you invest money to get a return on your investment. And time is obviously for the length of the loan. When you put money in your savings account, it's just in there. If you would invest it in some or other kind of more sophisticated situation, then there would be a time. Maybe you would purchase a car and choose to pay it off in 3 years. So then the time would be just that, years. So in the formula, interest equals principal times rate times time. The rate is always going to be in a decimal. So most oftentimes you'll see it with a percentage sign behind it. So if they told you 4.8%, in the formula you would move your decimal point back 2 places and you would put in 0.048, if I can get my 8 to come up there. That's what you would put in the spot for the rate, the decimal. And for time, it's always in terms of years. So if it's for 3.5 years, you'd put in 3.5. If it's for 6 months, you would put in just 0.5. So it always needs to be in terms of years, whatever you put in there for time. And then the interest and the principal are simply just the amount of money. Okay, we'll do some examples together. And again, the formula, interest equals principal times rate times time. So if we had someone who borrowed $12,800, and the rate was, let's say, 4.8%, and they borrowed that for 6 years. what would be their total interest paid? Well, we can put this right into the formula. So what is their interest? That's the part we don't know. So interest equals the amount they borrowed is the principal. So 12,800. And the rate is right here, but remember we need to always have that be in a decimal. So that's 0.048. And then 6 years obviously is the time, and 6, that's pretty easy, times 6. In this kind of math, using a calculator, in my opinion, is completely acceptable because we're not testing your ability to multiply numbers. We're testing your ability to use this formula. However, there certainly is nothing wrong with doing some multiplication in your head. So 12,800 times 0.048 times 6, and that gives us 3,686.4, and then obviously since it's money, we need to have a 0 on the end there. So the total amount of interest he would pay, look at that amount, $3,686.40 over 6 years. So if you were to purchase a $12,800 vehicle, you certainly would not want to borrow the money for 4 years, or 6 years, excuse me. You'd want to pay that off sooner than that. That's quite a chunk of extra money there to have to pay over all those years. Okay, another example. This will do the flip side, where we would deposit money into an interest-bearing account. So if I would deposit $5,600 into my savings account, and let's say that that earns 2.5% interest, and I'm going to leave it there for 8 years. How much total interest would I earn over the total of 8 years? So again, the question, how much interest? So interest equals, and the principal, that's the amount that I deposited. And I think I'm going to put this in parentheses. It's a little bit easier to see than with a dot. This is my rate, so I need to move my decimal point. So I've got 0.025. And then my time is 8 years. So we can multiply those three numbers together, 5,600 times 0.025 times 8, and the interest I would earn would be $1,120. So if I had that amount of money and was able to not touch it for 8 years, just for leaving that alone in my savings account, I could earn a little over $1,000. So it's not always the interest that you're figuring out. That is the most common use of this formula. But let's say that this time I borrowed $1,500 for 5 years. And I paid $435 in interest. So we can see here that I am missing which part. If I borrowed $1,500, that's the principal, and 5 years is the time, and the interest I paid is $435, so we're missing the rate. And we certainly can find that out. So interest, which is $435, equals the principal, $1,500, times the rate times the time, which is 5. So 1,500 times 5 is 7,500. And then we still have R over there, the rate, and that equals 435. I'm running out of room here. I'm going to scoop this up. So we know to get that R by itself, we need to divide by 7,500. Be fair. Do that to both sides. So now we have 435 divided by 7,500. So we get interest equals 0.058. However, we report interest with a percent sign, so we're going to move our decimal point 2 spots to the right. So interest is 5.8%. So if it's something other than interest, we simply go back to our knowledge of solving equations with a variable. So with that, I think you are ready to figure simple interest. Interest equals principal times rate in a decimal times time expressed in years.